Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 1992 GMC Typhoon. Now this is an SUV variant of the Syclone pickup that was available for 1992 and 1993, whereas the Syclone was only available in 1991, with 2,998 of them being made, compared to the 4,697 of these being made. So yeah, definitely a more popular model, but obviously it did have another year of production over the Syclone. This was also available in numerous colours, whereas the Syclone was only ever available in black. And yeah, this is in a lot of ways similar to that Syclone. The only major differences are obviously this weighs more at 187 pounds because of the extra bodywork. So this now weighs 3,800 pounds over the 3,613 pounds of the Syclone. And the only engineering difference is that this has air-operated self-leveling rear suspension. I imagine because they were expecting more weight to be in the back, with the fact that you can put more people in it and you can obviously put luggage in safely because it has an enclosed rear. But yeah, engineering wise, everything else is the same. Both come with a 4-speed automatic gearbox. Power was split 35% front and 65% rear. They both had 4-wheel anti-lock brakes, the first ever trucks to have 4-wheel anti-lock brakes in America, and they both had a limited slip diff as well. And they also both shared the same really rather brilliant engine, to be honest. It's a 4.3 litre turbocharged V6 engine producing 280 horsepower and 360 pounds-feet of torque. So yeah, quite a meaty engine for the early 90s, especially from America, where V6s weren't usually the most powerful of engines. I think only a Buick GNX is something else that you could say had a powerful V6, and yeah, this joined that car alongside the Syclone. But yeah, differences are obviously in terms of the bodywork. The front is pretty much similar to the Syclone, but now you have this whole rear cab which has a split tailgate, which is very nice. Obviously a pickup truck has the bottom part, but you have the top part now with some glass, which is very nice. And you obviously have a bench seat in the back so you can fit 3 people in, and you've still got plenty of room in the rear for any luggage or anything like that. And yeah, pretty sure those seats can also fold down by the look of it. So yeah, a very, very nice car overall, and it's only the second SUV that we've ever had from the 90s on this game, which is a bit of a shame because yeah, there are plenty from that decade that deserve to be on this game at least. But yeah, it's also a better looking car than the Syclone, I think. I prefer the look of the bodywork over the Syclone. Never been a massive fan of pickup trucks, so yeah, an SUV like this is a bit more appealing to me, as well as the fact that you can have this in more colours. So yeah, nonetheless, let's get out onto the open road and see what this car can do. So yeah, having more weight means this inevitably isn't going to be as quick as the Syclone, but there's not a massive amount of difference really in terms of acceleration. But we'll get onto that in a minute. I'm just going to let you listen to the engine of this car first, and then we'll talk some more about it.
You have arrived at your destination.
So yeah, it's not a very high revving V6. This is certainly not typical of the usual kind of V6, especially from Europe. It's not high revving or anything like that. It's quite a lazy V6, but that's fine. It means that it's not going to be a loud and intrusive engine noise into the cab, and yeah, nonetheless means that you've got instantaneous torque low down. So that's why this car is still really rather quick, despite obviously being slower than the Syclone, as it can now do 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds, 0 to 116.2 seconds, and going to a top speed of 140 miles an hour. So that top speed is 8 mile an hour, sorry, slower than the Syclone, whereas 0 to 60 in the Syclone is 4.6 seconds, and 0 to 100 is 13.7 seconds. So this is slower than that by a decent margin, but 5.3 seconds for an SUV to 60 is still pretty good even by today's standards, never mind back in 1992. And to put that time into perspective in terms of other cars from the time, a Ferrari 512 Testarossa managed 0 to 60 in 5.020 seconds, so this is only 0.28 of a second slower to 60 than a Ferrari, which obviously has more power, not quite as much torque I don't think, but it also obviously weighs a lot less. And to put it even more in perspective, this is as quick to 60 as a Nissan Skyline GTR V-Spec from 1993 to 60, which again has more power than this. Not as much torque by any means, but also a lot in the way of weight, less in the way of weight as well. So yeah, for a truck this is ludicrously quick, and obviously the Syclone is even faster than this in terms of 0 to 60 and 0 to 100 and obviously top speed, which obviously therefore means that it's quicker than both that Ferrari and that Nissan Skyline. So yeah, it is a ludicrously quick car, this Syclone, this Typhoon is based off of. I do on the whole prefer it to the Syclone though, purely because it's got more in the way of practicality, and yet it's still not all that much slower in terms of acceleration. It's still quicker than plenty of cars from the time, and certainly quicker than plenty of cars even today. So yeah, I have no problem that it's slightly slower than the Syclone, purely because I think it looks better and it's obviously got more practicality, and yeah, it's also an easier car to deal with in terms of driving because it's a little bit slower, a little bit more restrained, and yeah, I also think handling wise it's better than the Syclone, purely because again it's more manageable in terms of its power, because the power's reined in a little bit with that extra weight. It's yeah, easier to control and easier to get a handle of, and yeah, it's also still a solid handling car in its own right. Even for a truck of the day, it's still a really good handling car, and those brakes, that limited slip diff, the upgrades to the suspension, and obviously the all-wheel drive system are all working in tandem to make a really solid handling car. And yeah, even though it's by no means an off-road beast because it's quite low in terms of its suspension and ride height, it's still a decent car overall in a lot of ways. So yeah, highly recommend getting this if you haven't already. It is part of the current festival playlist. You just have to get 50% and it will be all yours, and I highly recommend getting it because it is the first time we've had this Typhoon on a Forza game since Forza Motorsport 4, which was quite a while ago. And yeah, I also love the fact that we can finally take a look at that engine underneath the bonnet, which we sadly cannot do with the Syclone. So that's why I was highly surprised that we could do it. Not only surprised that we could do it, but also excited that we could also do it with this car. So yeah, get out there and get it. It's a cracking little truck, and yeah, easily one of my favourites from the decade. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.